Hello and welcome to Mangatora 96, and today we have the review of One Piece chapter 1025 titled Twin Dragons. I'm pretty sure that Kaido is thankful for all the fighting he went through in this raid. If not for all the fighting right now, he will be staring into his pink doppelgänger drunk out of his ass, which potentially could have resulted in him questioning his drinking habits and what effects it has on him. But as he is completely sober thanks to the fighting, he doesn't need to worry about it. In all seriousness, this chapter brought us Luffy, who managed to reach the roof for the final battle, albeit with little hiccups here and there thanks to Momo's fear of heights. Kaido is becoming a worse fighter with each passing chapter. His aim is definitely on the award for worst fighter of the year now, and apparently Oda wasn't satisfied with only introducing us to the Lunarian race those past couple of chapters, that he decided to introduce another brand new race into the One Piece world with the Oni race, of which Kaido and Yamato are part of. Now let's save all that for later and start at the beginning of this week's chapter. We got the final part of the world popularity pool color spread. This part of the color spread does give me Marineford vibes, probably because most of the characters on this part of the color spread played a role in the Marineford arc. On the actual cover of the chapter we got Usopp dressed as a big time pirate who is telling the stories of his great adventures to some animal journalist. But unfortunately for him, the octopus doesn't buy his tall tales. Going into the chapter, we start with Luffy pushing Momo to finally start flying to Onigashima, but that's easier said than done. As only Momo's body did grow older, his mind hasn't, so he's still extremely afraid of heights. While there are still some problems to be solved before Luffy and Momo take off, we switch to the end result of the clash between Kaido's and Yamato's Thunder Bagwas. With the result of this clash being a surprising draw, I would even say that Yamato won in this clash, as we see that blood is dripping from Kaido's head, while Yamato has apparently some kind of ability that covers her body in a glass-like shield which took the damage instead of her body. This is quite an intriguing technique that Yamato possesses here. I'm not sure if it has something to do with the Makami legend and that's why she possesses this technique, or if this is a technique that she learned from Kaido. Then again, he hasn't shown if he even possesses this technique in the first place. After the Thunder Bagua clash is over, Yamato doesn't waste any time as she immediately goes for another attack on Kaido's head. The attack connects and Yamato manages to slam Kaido's head into the ground. However, as all the previous attacks that Kaido suffered throughout this arc, it doesn't seem that it hurt him too much. As Kaido immediately gets up and goes on the offensive, with Yamato desperately blocking his cannibal barrage. While this is going on, Kaido drops the most interesting piece of information that this chapter has to offer, and that's by claiming that Yamato possesses Oni blood, which essentially means that Oda introduced a whole new race with the Oni, with Kaido probably being a full Oni and Yamato a half Oni. Kaido claiming to be an Oni could always be something he came up with considering his appearance and the difference in strength between him and almost everybody else in this world. But considering that he made the effort to separate himself and Yamato from humans when he was talking of being an Oni, it does seem as he really meant it and that he is a literal Oni, which would be insane that we got another new race introduced. If Kaido is really an Oni, it would make sense that he is titled as the strongest creature in the world, as he is something completely different than humans. It's really interesting how in the last two arcs, not counting the rivalry, Oda introduced three races out of nowhere. First the Three-Eyed Tribe, which apparently have the ability to read the poneglyphs. The Lunarians, a race that by going off its name came from the moon and were considered as gods before the world government took over. And lastly the Onis, which we do not know anything about other than Kaido and Yamato are ones. It will be really interesting to see what Oda will do with those three races going forward. Maybe they will only play a role in the big Void Century flashback and Oda introduce them now so he wouldn't confuse readers later on. Or maybe all three races will make a comeback in the present storyline. Well, only time will tell. Apart from the Oni stuff, the other significant thing in the exchange between Kaido and Yamato that we learned, well, it's nothing new, but it just reinforces that Kaido is a shitty dad, with him killing the subordinates that were nice to Yamato by crucifying them. This shows that he isn't just a shitty dad, but a shitty boss. He also apparently knew about the friendship between Yamato and Ace, so could that be the reason why Kaido tried to go to Marineford 2 years ago, not to kill Whitebeard as the Marines believed, but to kill Ace so he can rub it in Yamato's face? I know that this sounds crazy at first, but Kaido did kill his subordinates just for giving Yamato some food, so I wouldn't put it past him in trying to join a war between a Yonko's full fleet and the Marines' full strength just to kill the friend of your child and make them even more miserable that way. Some further evidence that could support this theory are the newest Weaver cards, where we learned that King was present when Kaido attempted to join the war 2 years ago, but it doesn't say anything about Queen, Jack or the Tobiropo, which would suggest that Kaido didn't bring his full military force in the attempt to join the war, which would mean that Kaido's objective wasn't to take Whitebeard's head or to take down the Marines, but something more specific for which he wouldn't need his full military might, like killing Ace for example. Moving on from this little theory, Kaido manages to overpower Yamato and proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of the defenseless Yamato on the ground with his Kanabo. While beating Yamato, Kaido is shown to be the most demonic or Oni-like so far in this series, where I even got worried for Yamato's life for a second after seeing a Kaido like that. At the same time those horrific scenes between Kaido and Yamato are going on, the Pink Dragon Airways finally takes flight, but this won't be an enjoyable flight for either Luffy or Momo, as the only way Momo can fly is by having his eyes closed, and you can imagine how well that went. Momo first goes right over Onigashima with incredible speed. The agent didn't mature him in the least, but it did give him some extraordinary physical boosts. Luffy tries to guide Momo to the roof, but instead of the roof, they burst through the Skull Dome onto the live floor. Momo once again shows how stronger he got physically, as he manages to penetrate the Skull Dome without any effort or damage to himself. So far only Big Mom managed to damage the dome before Momo did. With a giant pink dragon bursting throughout the roof, it shocks everyone on the live floor, well, almost everyone, as Marco is smirking on this side. Zoro is also more or less composed, and we don't see King's face, but he also doesn't seem to be bothered on the sight of a dragon suddenly appearing. Momo and Luffy continue on their journey by bursting through the second floor. On the way up they pass by the fight between Kid, Law and Big Mom, with everyone there being confused on what is going on. While the chaos in the Skull Dome caused by Momo is going on, we switch back to the roof where we see both Yamato and Kaido back in their base forms, and thankfully Yamato doesn't look too injured after that demonic beating that Kaido gave her just moments prior. As they are staring each other in the distance, we see how a Pink Dragon Airways has made its way to the roof, with Kaido being the one to first notice the arrival of Momo and Luffy. Upon spotting Kaido, Luffy directs Momo to where he needs to go, but that wasn't necessary, as the second that Kaido's name is mentioned, Momo is not scared anymore of heights, as all his focus is on Kaido, so he approaches Kaido while looking at him directly. Yamato, who hasn't noticed the arrival of Momo and Luffy, who hasn't noticed the presence of Yamato, both attack Kaido at the same time. Luffy goes Gear 4 Snake Man, with Yamato attacking with her Kanabo. As indicated by the black traces, both are using Supreme King's Haki in this attack, with both of them simultaneously landing a hit on Kaido's head and sending him flying. This double page spread is really beautiful, seeing Kaido getting knocked back by Luffy and Yamato together. Only after this do they notice each other, with Yamato being really happy in seeing Luffy, and Luffy, who went to base form after the attack, notices that Yamato was the one holding Kaido at bay, for what he thanks her. As impressive as this double attack of Luffy and Yamato looked like, in the end it didn't do much damage to Kaido, who immediately goes full dragon form and confronts both Momo and Luffy. For the last scene of the chapter, we got another beautiful double page spread with the confrontation between Momo, Luffy and Kaido. In that scene, Luffy does look like a boss as he is standing on Momo's head, while Momo's eyes do seem to scream, "Oh shit, it's Kaido" to me. Kaido is surprised on the whole situation with Luffy being alive and who the pink lookalike is. Luffy as usual has his Pirate King line, which gives the courage to Momo, who introduces himself in a similar manner as the man who will be the Shogun of Wano. With Kaido saying that there is no need for two dragons in this world, we end this chapter. So with this last line, has Kaido finally confirmed his death or what? If he really dies at the end of this arc, at the very least he went out like a boss, as first of all he fought 9-on-1 against people who should all be roughly on Jack's level of strength, below or above depending on the member of the samurai. Then he fought 5 members of the worst generation who are stronger than the previous 9, and his own child who is somewhere on the level of the previous 5 without a break and while moving his house. So he really showed that he is worthy of his title, the strongest creature in the world. So far it looks like that the final battle will start as a 3-on-1, well in reality it's a 2.5-on-1 as Momo is still a child in his mind, so I don't see him doing much other than to assist here and there and to keep Onigashima from falling. But as this isn't a 1-on-1 between Luffy and Kaido from the start, there is a high chance that more characters will join the party later on, like the other Straw Hats that now after the defeat of the Tobiroppo don't have much to do. If anybody comes along later or not, it does seem like the final battle for Wano has begun. All in all, this was a good chapter of One Piece, which did what it needed to do in order for Luffy to arrive on the roof, with us also getting a bit of information on a mysterious Oni race that Kaido and Yamato are a part of. After this 4th chapter run, it's time for the usual Oda break, but after those last 4 chapters and what they brought us, Oda really deserves this break. And that will be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content as well as other manga content, and until next time, take care.